Hey there, Stephanie Joy with All Things Social Security and the Law Practice of Joy Disability. Here's a short little segment from our recent live stream Q&A that we have every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, All Things Social Security. Enjoy, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I will be sure to get to them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.
Hey, guys. How is everybody? Shiloh, I see you are here bright and early with 5 million questions. We'll see. We'll get through them. But we'll probably jump around because I don't want to make everyone else not be heard. Are you? Dimple's in the house. Dimple says yes, she can hear us. Okay, good. Guys, you know Shannon Justice of Justice Disability. Shannon's in Kentucky, right? And Shannon, do you see the postings part? The
comments, yeah, I see them.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to put your website in there, so if anyone wanted to reach out to you, feel free. You know, you could just type it right in there. It'll come up on the page. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it'll let me.
Okay. Anyway, so Shannon's been here before a couple times. So we're gonna share your questions, and you can see maybe a couple different perspectives and stuff like that. All right, so let's go back up to the start. I'm going to start with Ricardo says, if turned down a closed period 10 years ago due to age and decided to reapply when I got older, good or bad for favorable decision? Any thoughts on that, Shannon? And then I'll just plug in after.
I'm not real sure about that one.
Let's go off tangent here. You're older, you have a different RFC potentially. Vocational profile. You may have changed in a new age category. 2, you probably have new impairments physically.
Definitely.
So if you were mental before, maybe now it's mental and physical. And I don't know. What do you think about this? Someone who, now if you went back to work in between, that means they were totally right on the other one. And, but let's say you still are not working and you're still treating and you're still trying to plug through life and then you reapply. Sometimes I think a judge, not so much an adjudicator, looks at the fact that this isn't someone who then did jump back to work, and particularly if they were a worker beforehand. But even if they weren't, like let's say there's signs that they were very troubled as a youngster, even if there was no SSI available or anything. Sometimes I think the recurring applications are positive. I mean, it's bad they lost before. It's unfortunate they lost before, but sometimes I feel like their existence on the next claims can be an optic. It's not like obviously a legal rule. Any thoughts on that, Shannon? Did you ever?
I mean, being denied several times, it could be just not getting the proper treatment that they needed and having, things documented like that. Actually just got a man approved earlier, was last Friday, I guess it was, that had a similar situation. He was working in like 2010, 2014, something like that, and applied through appeals council and never could get approved. And his date last insured ended in like 2018 or 19, but he didn't have the medical treatment to support an approval before. And he didn't like doctors, one of those type of people. And don't get me wrong, I get that. But when it comes to this situation, you have to have that in order to support with the problems you got. And I was able to get him to get a little bit more. Still wasn't what I would have liked for him to get, but thankfully he changed age groups and they graded him out at 55, but barely.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise.
So for the age, it wouldn't have been enough. Yeah, that's awesome. It's a good share.
It all comes down to the medical records. You just gotta make sure you're getting treatment for any problem.
Treatment.
Yeah.
The mantra. Okay, brown-eyed girl says no communication before CE or communication before reconsideration. How do I know they're building my case? How do you know your surgeon is actually doing? I mean, they don't get paid. Put it this way. This is the way I look at it. They're not getting paid unless they win. To win the case, they have to do some work. Have you asked them to say, now for CEs, just to go off on that, I don't call my people. I have videos on it. So I actually have we send them a message through the portal that we have and says, all right, you got a CE, because they usually tell us when they get the letter. Because sometimes we don't even get it because mail's terrible. And here's information on mental. Here's information on physical. Now, that will tell you what we would have told you on the phone. And that's kind of my point. Like, you don't need to hear me breathe on you to get the information from me. So that's what we do with regard to CEs. And then I do like it when they tell me what happened. They can try to remember, particularly, mental, but physical also. Sometimes they'll just tell me because something terrible happened that they're really offended about. But other times, some of my questions are, did they, I'll either do it shortly thereafter or we'll go, like, if I get the CE report and I see that I know the person has bad arthritis in the fingers, and this Nimrod CE examiner said able to button buttons, zip zippers, and tie shoes. And I'll almost always ask, did he test you for that? Did he have you do it in front of him? Did he ask you if you could do it? No, 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 no. He just fabricated. And then that's something, if they don't, I don't really rock the cart while we're waiting for an initial or recon decision, because I'm not going to rock a cart in case we might, I still think we should win now. But as soon as we don't, boom, I send that right up to the DDS and I say, this is a problem. And I try to send it to a manager. This is a problem with this CE. I mean, my client says this, and sometimes I'll get a 795 for what the client said. In fact, I pretty much always do. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't
Shannon?
call.
Like, how do they know you are building their case?
Well, they should be hearing from you every now and then. Like I don't call everybody for CEs, but the ones I know that might not be getting their mail or whatever, like I do like to check in, make sure that they're going to go to them. But then of course some will call and tell us that they've got the appointment or whatever, and if there's anything they should do specific or take anything with them or whatever. But I always call at when it's time to do an appeal. Unfortunately, after they get a denial, we do that and check in with them. But I want to, I'm in the process of setting it up to where, because I don't have like the program like you do that does the automatic emails and things like that. So they are kind of like on rotation.
They're not automatic, but it's just so
but
easy.
you trigger it or whatever. But it's a I've got them kind of like on rotation to be checked in with. If we don't hear from some people with, so many weeks or whatever, we check in, make sure they're at least treating, and maybe, we just haven't heard from them. Because my hope is most of them will contact me anytime anything new happens or they see a new doctor or something like that. And that a lot of them do, but not everybody. So I do have them to be checked in on. So you should be hearing from them at least once or twice in between, one way or another, whether it's text or email or phone calls. And that's the only way to know if they are working on it, is if somebody, but you can also call them too and see what they tell you and let them know about your changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because of the platform we use for that case management / whatever. The biggest thing for me is the communications, uploading, downloading documents, blah blah. But I have clients, and probably one or two of them are here. I hear them. We're messaging like 5 times a week. It's hysterical. You get people that like don't do that, and then you get people that are like, hey,
Yeah.
here's something, so it's funny because it's like you get to really kind of know people. It's more through, and I always say, you're not going to get a phone call unless I believe you need a phone call for the betterment of your case, because we don't have time for that, because we really want to work on your case. Do you understand? Like, not on your feelings so much, but the communication is easy, and when it's that way, it's like right in front of you. I don't know. It's something to consider. I know it costs money though, but it saves a lot of time. And I don't know, for me, I think my communication with my clients would be 80% less. I mean, that's how major it is in terms of being for efficiency. I don't know. And maybe I've been using it for 15 years. So bear with me on that. I know what I'm like. I have the way I use it. And it's got things in there I don't use. Like, it's for all kind of law firms. So it's got like billable this. And I'm like, we don't do that. Thank God. That's not an added administrative task. You guys probably mostly know, like out there, we don't get paid. We get paid a contingent fee at the end if we win. And it's very discounted. And it's it's low margins. Everything is, I would call like low margin. So that's the whole point about being very diligent with every case, because you want to win every case. So that's the way Shannon rolls. That's the way I roll. And so it takes very much hands-on of everything. And it's a ton of stuff behind the scenes, just checking, making sure it's like you're just constantly on defense and offense at the same time, right?
But I will say that not all offices are the same, like me and you, like if an office does other aspects of the law, they are not going to be as hands-on usually. That's what actually got me into doing this, is the fact that in my area, almost every office says that they do them, but it's rare for one to actually do them properly. So that is the kind of thing that you're going to get from them. You're not going to hear from them because they treat it as extra money. If you get approved, great. They got paid to do nothing. And if not, oh, well, they didn't lose anything because they didn't do anything in the first place. And it shouldn't be that way. So, I mean, check the Google reviews, talk to people. But if their hands in all the cookie jars, you're not going to get the same amount like you get from me and Stephanie. That's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I used to always call it for firms that do various areas, and some of the real big ones do it, and sometimes the smaller ones do it too, because they're just trying to have more market share
Money,
and more
yeah.
business, and they don't have like, I mean, I guess it takes a special kind of practice to be able to exclusively do SSD. You have to have built it, and it's, you know,
Yeah.
and I always say the people that tag on the SSD, I say that's the redheaded stepchild of the firm. They usually don't know much about SSD law either. They don't follow it
Nope.
because they're so busy trying to keep up with divorce and PI and workers' comp and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I mean, Jonathan's another one who does just SSD. That's all he does. So, you know, I think it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. And I've said this before, and I said it recently in a video. I feel like the smaller solos who dive into SSD, it's like I don't want to use it's the passion because, you know, it's like a little overblown, but they put everything into it because they're not dilly-dallying, trying to be jack of all trades, master of none. And I think they're going to be the ones that are more apt to do the hands-on, helping with the function report, reviewing it, making sure those answers are not screwy. You know, they may not type them up like we do because I know there's different thoughts on that. And I know some of them will say, like, I don't know the resources. I just learned how to get that done, like in a very streamlined way. I definitely feel like it's like being I don't know, big Cadillac or a big Suburban. You take more gas. You have less, like they can't put that much little detail in because they need to focus on the big money making cases because they got all the staff, far more staff than we have. And and maybe they support these fancy offices for all their staff, whereas all of my staff has always been remote working. Always. Sometimes it's been, you know, by design, disabled people who can't go out and work full time. So this works perfectly. It's like within their limit, you know, and it's all contractor, you know, but it just, I don't know. I just think there is a big difference. If you're relying on SSD as your mantra, that's the thing you're going to be the master of, and that's going to be all your clients, you're going to know your stuff. You have to, because you need to win all those cases. In theory, you want to win all of them, you know, so you want to come, even if that's impossible, we all want to be as close as possible to that big number.
Yeah, because someone had mentioned to me years ago that I should get into doing like the Black One cases and stuff, and I checked into it. I can do them, but I don't have the time to learn about the processes and things that are required for those cases to do them to the best of my ability. So I won't do that.
And it would take away so much of your time on your heavy schedule now, right?
Yeah, I like learning the rules and regulations and keeping up with that kind of stuff with Social Security. I don't want to split my time with that kind of thing.
That's right. That's how I kind of feel like it is generally when it's not even just an SSD. I used to, when I first hung my shingle, I didn't even know about SSD. This is like, I don't want to say how old I am, but it's like 30 years ago. And I was doing New Jersey state law, and I was taking everything I'd done at the law firms, and then I was doing also stuff that any solo would do. Traffic cases, DUIs. I did low-level criminal. I did divorces, you know, and that is a lot you're constantly like, do you even know all the newest rules? You know, do you know, it was, I don't feel like you're the master of your game in any of it if you do that.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it works that well. And I also find that the way they ignore clients is a lot more, SSD clients, you know. They're not going to ignore the divorced person who's on the billable hour.
No.
Right? You know, they're not going to. That's the thing. That kind of stuff is bringing in money the second they open their mouth with you, or take your call, or read your email. Not true with us. So we need to get the endpoint. We need to get our clients to prevail, or else, you know, those many dozens of hours, you know, are pro bono with no beautiful outcome for the person we're trying to serve. All righty. Koki says, I testify for my grandson tomorrow and I'm a nervous wreck. Oh, you're going to do great. And there was someone else, Koki, that spoke to that earlier. I don't know if you were here.